I think it's entirely possible that he'll declare a war and maybe declare some kind of symbolic victory and try to gear up the public for some sort of long, dragging on conflict.
What normally happens then on Victory Day in Russia?
So, Victory Day is probably one of the most important holidays in the Russian calendar. Every year, there is a massive military parade along Red Square in Moscow, and it's televised across the country. And it's meant to both rally public support and patriotism at home while also flexing Russia's military prowess to the world.
And what do you think it might look like this year?
So this year, obviously, the war in Ukraine is going to cast a huge shadow over things. There's a lot of speculation, like you said, of what Putin will say in his speech, which he gives every year. But also, we're seeing, based on parade routes that have been published by the Defense Ministry, Russia's the amount of vehicles and hardware they'll be displaying this year will be about a third smaller than last year's parade. And that's basically because of forces committed to the battlefield, but also reflecting how significant the losses have been in the battlefield so far.
Well, that's interesting. So you think that Vladimir Putin will actually refer to that, because there had been a feeling that obviously, we know in the West how many troops have been lost in the Ukrainian war. But there was a feeling that was information that perhaps Vladimir Putin wanted to keep from the Russian people because he wants to keep their support.
Yes, I think it's unlikely that he'll go into detail about how much Russia has already lost in terms of soldiers or equipment. I think the key today is that he will probably try to repackage this war in some way to keep public support behind him, because obviously, as we've seen, Russia has not failed to reach any of the objectives it set out so far.
And then this idea that he may use his speech today to declare war on Ukraine, the word you couldn't say, you weren't allowed to call it a war. It's been a special military operation. Do you think that will happen today?
It's likely. There's that option, as well as there's a lot of discussion that he could order a mass mobilization of reservists. I think either way, I'm not sure. It's really unclear how much that would change the situation on the ground, because it's already been a war, as we've seen. But yeah, I think it's entirely possible that he'll declare a war and maybe declare some kind of symbolic victory and try to gear up the public for some sort of long, dragging on conflict.
I don't know if you saw on the clips on social media yesterday. I presume it was children perhaps rehearsing for Victory Day parades today, and they were all, they were the same age as my daughter. They were like 5 or 6, and they were all dressed up, and they'd made cardboard tanks, and they were standing in these tanks the way that you would make a cardboard costume for anything at school, and the tanks had the Z on them, and it was actually completely chilling, especially as Victory Day commemorates the surrender of Nazi Germany at the end of the Second World War. Did you see that, and what did you think of it?
Yes, I saw it. Yeah, I think it is the kind of culmination of what we've been seeing in recent years under Putin. He's been pushing for, giving young children this quote unquote military patriotic education. And he's been really the driving force behind that, kind of trying to shape the ideology of Russia's people starting at a very young age. And it's also kind of troubling because it's wielding this symbolism of World War II and the sacrifices that Russians made in that war, and kind of appropriating them for this current conflict, which is being presented to Russia as another battle against Nazis, which it is not. So yeah, it's very troubling.
And finally, can you tell us a bit about the Doomsday plane? This is apparently a plane for President Putin in the event of a nuclear attack, where that's going to make its first appearance. Is that your understanding? What else do we know about the Doomsday plane?
Yes, the Doomsday plane is this massive plane designed to protect Russia's leadership in the event of a basically all-out nuclear war. This is the first time that it will be appearing in the Victory Day parade. It's also interesting because in 2019 or 2020, this plane was actually robbed, and the Kremlin admitted that really key strategic hardware was stolen from it. Uh, so that was a very rare admission. But yeah, I guess that hasn't affected its ability to fly in a parade. So
Yeah. It's absolutely, the whole thing is just, it's crazy. Samantha, thank you for taking us through the craziness, though. That is the Moscow Times editor,
mhm.
Samantha Berkhead, who's speaking to us from Turkey.